welcome aboard, and thank you for tuning into the Heavy Metal Truckers. We are your hosts. I am Pincushion, and this is Doppler. In this video, we kind of thought we'd do something a little bit differently. Whenever we decided to do the journey of doing this kind of thing, it wasn't something that we kind of just went, okay, we're going to start this day. We contemplated it first, and then we had inspiration from other channels, and I thought it might be interesting if we give you guys a little look into kind of what channels have piqued our interest, discuss what we watch outside of this in typical fashion. I'll let you go first.
Alright, so what did you say this video was about? I was in my own little world. Sorry. ADD.
The channels that we watch.
No, the channel, yes. I even said that a second ago. What the
I know! That's what I'm like, okay. Well
so,
done.
Everybody's big YouTube viewers anymore. So I have different genres of videos that I watch, I guess is the best way to put it. You know, when I started watching YouTube, watching people do Let's Plays, like game Let's Plays was big for me. The biggest one I watched was Sky Storm. He was the first person I ever found. It's a British dude. He used to post all the time. He used to post several videos a day. Lately, though, I don't know if it's because he's getting older or whatever.
Was he the one that did Truck Simulator? Or?
No. He was more into the style games that I was like, like city building simulations, stuff like that. Those kind of games. Like he got me into Banished and a bunch of other stuff. I would watch him. Not lately, though, he doesn't post near as often. He'll actually go months without posting anything and then appear back and post videos for a while and then disappear for several months. And the other Let's Gamers that I would watch was Jeff Favagano, which he would do Truck Simulator some. Bay Area Bugs, which they used to do stuff together all the time. And they still post pretty regularly. Now, I also watch scary stories, horror type stuff, whatever. Rob Gavigan, is one. Mr. Ballin's one of my favorites. Mr. Nightmare.
Slapped Ham.
Bizarre Bub. He's another one.
Wow.
What?
I just realized how wrong that sounds. Slapped Ham.
Well, that's his name.
I know.
Fascinating Horror is another one. Lamont at Large. Those are a lot of those that I watch because I don't know. I just find that stuff fascinating. It always has interested me. I'll sit there and listen to them driving down the road. Like Mr. Ballin's got a podcast. I've been listening to it. Or scary. Like they're not all scary. Like a lot of times, Mr. Ballin will have a twist in them or whatever. I've been getting pretty good about guessing the twist too. Stuff like that. I don't know. I've always found it fascinating. Like even on Netflix, I'll watch a lot of the stuff like that too. I also watch a guy named Tyler Tube, which he's familiar with because he's watched some of it with me.
I avoid warranties.
Yeah, he has a shirt that says about his most recent video he was wearing. I avoid warranties.
Nice.
He became popular doing like testing like what do you call it? A flex tape and flex glue and all that.
Yeah, I've seen on TV stuff.
Yeah, and he also leaving things in jars for 30 days, like in certain fluids and stuff. Now, he'll still do as seen on TV stuff. He also will, like, review Wish stuff to see if it's actually worth it. It's decent. Surprisingly, sometimes things are.
I was about to say, I've seen some of those, and some of those are impressive, actually.
Yeah. And he'll review other things from Amazon, which, funnily enough, a lot of the stuff he gets from Amazon ends up being worse than the stuff from Wish, shockingly. Or he'll just do random crap in video. Like the most recent video, he and his brother made a pizza using only power tools, like from scratch. They made the dough from scratch, the pizza sauce from scratch, everything. They'll do random stuff like that too. I just find the dude funny, and like he said, he's got that shirt. I avoid warranties. We both want it. This is great. I watch Leon Lush as well. He goes on there and he talks about other things like stupid people around the world that do the dumbest things, or like these people who post stuff on social media it's just like, why? And he also has a channel called Lush Life with his wife where they react to funny and stupid stuff as well. I don't know, I enjoy their stuff. And then I also like more informative channels like Geographics, Mega Projects, Biographies, where they just talk about stuff around the world or people around the world and explain the history of it, potential future of it, depending on what it is, what's going on with it today, stuff like that. It's like more like historical type stuff, and I find it very interesting. There's another one called Bright Sun Films, where he talks about abandoned places, and he'll tell you the history of it. Like the series is called Abandoned. Places that are currently abandoned, and he'll talk about the history of it, how it became abandoned, is there a future for it, like what the plans are for it, the future, whatever. He also has one called Bankrupt, where he talks about companies that went bankrupt, how they went bankrupt, what led up to it, stuff like that. And I find a lot of that stuff interesting. He even has his own documentary that you can watch, I think, on Paramount, called Before the Storm, or after. No, I think it's Before the Storm, and it's about Six Flags New Orleans, what happened to it and how what happened with Katrina and all, and why it never reopened, and it's a big story about it, and it's pretty interesting. Yeah, I mean, I think that's the main stuff that I watch. Is there anything else that I missed? I don't think so. Yeah, I mean, other than bands that I follow, that's mainly the stuff that I watch.
As a general overall, the main stuff that I watch is
Tech.
So yeah, it is a shitload of tech,
Yeah.
mixing related, because I would watch more metal stuff, but a lot of that just gets weird really
Oh,
quick.
you remind me. There are some reaction reviewers that I watch. The main two would be Tank the Tech, even though he doesn't review as much now. But he talks about it. Like right now, he is on tour as a tour manager for the European tour right now for Electric Callboy, and he's been posting blogs about it. And then the other one is David Heretic.
Mhm.
So anyway, go ahead.
You're good. Like I said, I would watch stuff regarding metal, but it gets really odd really quick for me, and they tend to do more modern stuff coverage, and I'm not the biggest fan of it. As far as the tech goes, I may or may not like Jay's 2 cents. Biggest reason that I enjoy Jay is it's just him and two other guys, Jay, Phil, and Nick. Phil is the filmographer or camera operator. I'm not sure the correct term to use for that. And
Cameraman.
yeah, and he's also the video editor.
Yeah.
And Nick is warehouse operator and logistics, I guess you could say, and just kind of maintaining everything. But since it's just those three guys, and they are just very average guys that just is like, they always have the attitude of, what can we blow up today? And big influence on them was Mythbusters. Like they love taking things that are unconventional and seeing how they can apply it to tech or any kind of PC related ordeals. Phil is huge into science and astrophysics, and so he's able to apply some of what he knows to their whole shenanigans, pretty much, or workarounds. And Nick's just quiet, although he has an outstanding resting bitch face, I will say. I just really appreciate them and love what they do, just because they don't try and go crazy with acting out. It's all completely natural, and whatever happens, and they just have fun with it, and I love watching it. Now, if something that Jay says may not go deep enough into what I'm curious about, Gamers Nexus with Steve Burke. And you talk about a guy who is a hardware enthusiast at the deepest level. Steve and his team, they do an outstanding job on testing and going over all pieces of hardware and everything surrounding it in such an analytic and journalistic perspective that it is absolutely unreal. Even though he has kind of a droning voice sometimes, or especially back in the day, he is very straight to the point, and he cuts a lot of the BS out, which he has held a lot of companies, him and Jay have held a lot of companies responsible for things and have made some big changes in the industry, and I really appreciate that. As far as like entertaining, something that's like entertaining or is like you could see on a TV program because it's just how it's written, I do watch Linus on occasion, just if I want to have a laugh, or is like, oh, let's see what crazy thing they did today. And I mean, I know he has his own labs department. I feel like they're so much of a jack of all trades that they might not necessarily get lost in the process, but they're like the in-between of Jay and Steve, basically. So I kind of just watch it more for the entertainment value. To my recollection, that's the main people I watch as far as tech goes. Whenever Bearded Hardware was doing more stuff, I really enjoyed his liquid nitrogen overclocking videos. That was really cool. Aside from that, I am very much into guitars, and for that I watch Ola. And though he doesn't do a whole lot anymore with actually reviewing gear, like he'll do it occasionally, but these days, like I watch Sunday with Ola, and the news segments that he does are incredibly interesting. I mean, yeah, he does kind of just read off of the main articles that anyone can get a hold of, but he'll give his own thoughts, and he may or may not have connections to where he can get a better he can provide better detail. The way he goes about everything, he's a guitar version of what Jay and his crew are. he just kind of whatever happens along the way. And he's a hell of a guy, very down to earth and incredibly genuine. As far as any kind of recording and understanding testing and what is worth the investment, I go to Glenn
Fricker.
Yeah, Glenn Fricker in Spectrum Media Group. I know I'm going to get two kinds of responses from that. Either seriously you watch him, or hell yeah, people don't like what he has to say a lot of the time because he's extremely straightforward and
He's blunt.
he's extremely blunt, and he does tests that no one else will. People get really irritated over purchase validation, so
He doesn't care.
no, he does not give a fuck, and that's what I love about him. He honestly reminds me a lot of my instructor that I had whenever I was in audio engineering 1 and 3, because back when I was taking those classes, I was looking more in depth onto YouTube and seeing, like, if there was any other kind of instructions that I could get, something else that I could learn to help myself out for what I was doing at the time. And then I came across Glenn, and I'm like, holy shit, he reminds me so much of my instructor. I'm going to keep watching this, because my instructor was even more no BS than this guy was. He did not give a fuck about anything. He was straightforward, to the point. I loved it, because whenever people were making noise outside the door one time, he had told me, because I had come in early because I just loved talking to him. And he goes, faculty isn't too happy with me right now. And I'm like, why is that? And he goes, well, apparently it's frowned upon whenever people are making noise outside to open up your door and go, hey, shut the fuck up. And yeah, he's like, they apparently don't like that too much. And so, but he's like, but what the fuck do I care? And so he just go on about his business, and I loved it, because it was straightforward. But yeah, so Spectrum Media Group in Old England, really enjoy those guys. And recently, my wife has gotten me into Longhorn Lester, which is he's a rancher, and he actually raises cattle, and he just films along the way of stuff that's happening, either with their bulls or the baby goats or whatever the case may be. And it is incredibly fun to watch. It's relaxing, and the animals get into so many shenanigans, and I love it. As far as any kind of things that I listen to while driving, Regna Mumbre, they post a lot of soundscapes, and it's the Dark Academia, dark piano and ambient sounds that are incredibly relaxing, and I enjoy it.
They are. I'm sitting there listening to them like I couldn't listen to that while I was driving. It put my ass to sleep.
Yeah. But I love it. I love it just because it relaxes me, and whatever kind of mindset I'm in. If I'm just not feeling rough, if I'm feeling rough or whatever, then I mean, of course I talk to my wife and I do a lot better, but still, just listening to that it's nice. Though I will say, as far as the metal goes, I don't watch them too much anymore. I didn't watch them as much, but that's Banger TV with the Overkill reviews, and they'll do reviews on metal albums, and they're really good at what they do. Of course, we have Sam Dunn to thank for that, because he is a hell of a metal journalist. He was probably, in my opinion, one of the first solid ones that actually made the heavy metal family tree, and he went around the world. Well, I say around the world, more like around the UK, but still, he made the family heavy metal family tree and went to the origins, talked with all kinds of artists, like including Dio. He also talked to Abbott, but he's had some interviews with some pretty notable names, including the guys in Mayhem, because he is also big into black metal, but he wanted to do more than in-depth discussion, which kind of pissed off Necro Butcher, understandably. He wanted to do more an in-depth discussion on the occurrences that happened in early to mid-90s. For the black metal fans out there, you know what I'm talking about. I don't need to go any further. So yeah, I really enjoyed watching Banger TV whenever I care to at this point. But another couple guys I enjoy watching is the Big Dan and Little Dan off Heavy Metal Entertainment, and that's actually, those are the two guys that made me want to do this, because it was just a couple English dudes getting on and just fucking around, discussing whatever they cared to, and they would have long ass discussions, and and they would just go on so many tangents. I'm like, they remind me so much of us.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, I'll do that. And another guy I watch actually is, although his posts have been intermittent, but he's also trying to restructure his channel from what I can recall. Black Metal Werewolf. He's just one dude that's like fairly small, even though I think he has like 1,000 subscribers at least, or maybe 2,000. I don't know at this point, but he's just a guy that just discusses random metal topics, and yeah, he'll do the Metalhead box unboxings, and yeah, he's a fun dude to watch. He puts on skits every now and then. But yeah, to my recollection, that's what I watch, because I don't care for TV.
Hey guys, so sorry for the little interjection here. There were a few videos, there were a few channels that I watched that I completely forgotten about, or I was so tired that I just didn't think of them at the time. But one of them is, I'm a huge fan of Whiskey Tribe and Whiskey Vault. I absolutely love what they're doing for the whiskey community at large. I mean, yeah, they're doing a lot locally within Texas, but they're kind of really spreading out and spreading their wings to other places as well. But they're actually the ones that got me to stop shooting whiskey or any kind of spirit, and kind of taught me how to really appreciate it. And like, mind you, this is something I just do at home. I don't drink while I'm out here. One, because I can't, and two, because just that's something that I want to kind of just push everything away and set aside a moment to enjoy things. So there is that, but I absolutely love what Rex and Brianna are now doing with Whiskey Tribe. Originally it was Rex and Daniel, but because of some government ordeals, they had to split off, and Rex and Brianna are in control of Whiskey Tribe and doing various experiments and kind of just trying different things. And Daniel is in control of Whiskey Vault and the Whiskey Marketing School. Another channel that I really enjoy, because when I am at home, one of my hobbies that I do enjoy is going out to the range and firing off some rounds. And so I enjoy watching Hickok 45. That dude is incredible. He goes into a lot of detail. He does kind of just go on to little side tangents and just he does talk a lot, but he is a very down-to-earth guy and has so much fun, and whenever he goes to try out a new firearm. And I love the quote that I read in a comment at one point about him. He is so good that he could shoot the balls off a mosquito. I thought that was hilarious and quite true. He's a hell of a marksman, if he even considers himself that. Recently, I have also been starting to watch Honest Outlaw. He does reviews, and he does very thorough testing on different firearms to let the consumer be aware of what's out there, and really put things through the test to make sure that what they're spending is actually worth their time, because I mean, those things can get expensive. And so he goes through and does like the 1,000-round tests and other testing between him and his wife. But again, really down-to-earth guy. Gets most of his firearms from Patreon supporters that allow him to be able to purchase these things and run tests. Whenever it comes to just wanting to watch something that is crafting and making things, I don't remember if I mentioned this in the video with Doppler and I, but I love watching Crimson Guitars. Crimson Guitars is one of possibly the best luthiers that I know of for guitars. It's based out of the UK. Dude is just absolutely goofy as shit, but he is so good at what he does, and he goes so thorough in explanation, and he's always willing to try new things to see what kind of changes he can make in the guitar making process, or just seeing what happens. And I love that he does that. And he recently has kind of toned down somewhat, at least as far as ideas that come to him during the process of everything and just starting to make all these ideas. He went to get some help and discovered that he actually has ADHD, and well, I guess you could say adult ADHD, but he seriously had it doesn't surprise me that he has it. And so he's on medication for it, and he's trying to calm down with a lot of his chaos, even though he still has a bunch of just random chaos that just makes his videos fun and intriguing. Another, as far as luthiers are concerned, one of the channels that I enjoy watching is Olaf the Violin Maker. I am very much into classical, as some of you may be aware. I love classical instruments. I love everything about them. How they were designed centuries ago, and yet they produce such amazing sound, and not a whole lot has vastly changed about them. Of course, you have the general innovations that help improve the sound. They've all, like, violin makers and classical makers have pretty much stuck true to what works. And Olaf is a really sweet guy, just very sweet, very fun, very straightforward with what he's doing, and he jokes all the time about the VSOs, or the violin-shaped objects, and how he understands that a lot of players can't really afford something like exponentially expensive, like a $500 or $1,000 instrument. And so he understands, but he encourages people to maybe rent an instrument instead, or maybe do like a rent to purchase, so you can have a quality instrument to be able to, after you kind of find that you enjoy it, start to really get something that you can learn on and grow with. He just has a small little shop, and he just is so down to earth. I absolutely love it. Along with the classical, if we're going to speak on that, I am a big fan of Two Set Violin. Those guys are goofy and fun, and they're about as Gen Z as I can handle. But again, they're very classically driven, which I love, so I don't particularly mind it occasionally. And Eddie and I'm forgetting the other guy's name. Yeah, anyways, awesome set of guys. But as far as like any kind of crafting and building, I also have greatly enjoyed watching Nerdforge recently. They are now a couple. Well, they've been a couple, but now they recently got engaged. Martina and Hansi, they work for so long, and they'll take so much time to make just these amazing pieces and structures, and they keep on pushing boundaries of what's done artistically, like just within their studio, and they're so fun to watch, and the art that Martina can create is just phenomenal, absolutely phenomenal. Now, whenever we filmed this originally, I wasn't doing this, but I have come to also enjoy Mr. Ballin for listening to stuff while on the road. He's a fantastic storyteller, and the way he goes about everything, he really has a way to get you sucked in and really enjoy the story. There's so much content that he has, so I haven't gotten bored yet, just because almost everything is kind of different. Another one that I have really come to enjoy now, that my wife ended up showing me, was Storyboy, and he creates more long format stories, and some of his stories, they are fabricated, like he makes them, but he puts himself into the perspective. But even regardless, even if they're ones that he makes up, he is absolutely amazing at getting the listener caught up in what's going on, and he gives such great detail without going overboard, and he kind of is more of he started off on TikTok, I believe, and I can tell, but that doesn't make him bad. Just again, he's one of the few like newcomers that like came off TikTok that I can tolerate. Even though he does slightly come across as that, he still makes amazing stories, and he'll and I think some of the experiences that he has are stuff that he's actually gone through. So regardless, I enjoy it. But I think, if I'm not mistaken, those are the main ones that I forgot about. Whenever going into editing this, then I will discover if I've screwed up and forgot another thing, which would not surprise me if I did. But anyways, back to our video.
Unless it's
So
Bob's Burgers.
unless it's Bob's Burgers, which even my wife was the one that got me into that.
Yeah,
But
I love Bob's Burgers.
yeah, since I don't really watch all that much TV, or I don't care for a lot of it, which Bob's Burgers was started off years ago, so I'm always late in starting that kind of stuff. But
You either watch YouTube or movies, which you haven't watched movies in a while.
no, I haven't. Mainly because, like, do I really want to try and find something random that might turn out to be good like an hour after watching it, or am I gonna waste this hour hoping it gets good and there's something I could have watched otherwise?
All right.
Yeah, so I'll watch that stuff instead.
So those be our YouTube channels.
Indeed. If you have any recommendations for channels that may or may not be similar to that, let us know. By the way, as far as tech goes, I already know about Bitwit Kyle, even though I don't know what he's doing now, because things occurred after his divorce, and he kind of stopped doing that. But I know about Bitwit. I know about Paul's Hardware. I watch him occasionally as well. And I know about Hardware Unboxed, Hardware Canucks, and all that. Also, Tetra Ninja is an outstanding one for gameplay walkthroughs, because he just plays the game and comments occasionally. Yeah, I'm going to stop this before I think about any others. But I will, we'll leave it here, and thank you guys for watching. And as always, keep rolling heavy.